Alright. All the desperate people go. I like to let my car warm up for 5 minutes. It's not good to just get in, start the car, and take off. It's not good to do that, but a lot of people do that. It doesn't matter if it's warm or cold. You should always let your car warm up for 5 minutes. And there goes one car going over the speed limit. They like to go fast here, but somebody... Oh, I'm taking off my shoes. Oh my god. My feet. My feet hurt. Oh my goodness. And there goes another car. Hello everybody. I need some windshield wiper. It's a little chilly. My bad. Oakley dokley.
This episode brought to you by Progressive Insurance. Do you ever find yourself playing the budgeting game? Shifting a little money here, a little there, hoping it all works out? Well, with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive, you can get a better budgeter and potentially lower your insurance bill too. You tell Progressive what you want to pay for car insurance, and they'll help find you options within your budget. Try it today at Progressive.com. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law. Not available in all states.
I hate Progressive, and that's why I have.
Sometimes it feels like the world is moving at hyperspeed and you can't keep up because it's one thing then another. And don't forget the meeting and the yoga class and the dinner reservation. But then you get into the all-new Nissan Murano and you feel the breeze from the panoramic moonroof while the massaging seats melt away the tension of the day. And you realize that sometimes the greatest rush is not rushing at all. Shop the all-new Murano at nissanusa.com. Panoramic moonroof, massaging leather appointed seats are available features.
Instacart is on a mission to have you not leave the couch this basketball season. Because between the pregame rituals and the postgame interviews, it can be difficult to find time for everything else. So let Instacart take care of your game day snacks or weekly restocks and get delivery in as fast as 30 minutes. Because you hear it's bad luck to be hungry on game day.
Ready to go.
So download the Instacart app today and enjoy $0 delivery fees on your first 3 orders. Service fees apply for 3 orders in 14 days. Excludes restaurants.
Hi there. Mysterious Radio is transitioning to a show fully supported by my dedicated fans. If you genuinely love the show and the content I've created for nearly a decade, your support is crucial to help me continue this journey we started together. For years, you have encouraged me and inspired me to keep going, and with your support, each of you can bring me closer to my goal of having the largest Patreon community ever. Soon, you will only be able to access full episodes by becoming one of my devoted members. Joining the community unlocks over 1,000 ad-free episodes, bonus segments, extra content, and much more. While the price is set to rise to $9.99, you can jump in right now for only $5 a month, and that's forever. Go now to patreon.com/mysteriousradio. That's spelled patreon.com/mysteriousradio. If you want to see Mysterious Radio continue, I need your support right now by becoming a member of my Patreon community. Again, go to patreon.com/mysteriousradio. That's patreon.com/mysteriousradio. Or you can join from the link in the show notes. And as always, I appreciate your years of loyalty and support.
Statements and opinions about guests of Mysterious Radio are not to be considered as
Anyways, sounds awful. My brakes. Freaking have any brakes. Brothers and
House and Senate committees, as well as the Department of Defense, the Pentagon a little bit. I've written 3 books, one of which, of course, is Strange Craft, the true story of an Air Force intelligence officer's life with UFOs, and 2 fictional books. And I continue to write for a newspaper to this day, a daily newspaper in Florida, and I'm planning to retire next year. Just love what I do, so I don't see a need to retire. I just enjoy it so much.
Very good. Have you ever... Go ahead.
I was just going to say, I met George Filer, Major George Filer, the Air Force intelligence officer I wrote about, through a mutual friend. She teaches his granddaughter singing lessons, and so that's how I met him.
So he's still alive? How old is he?
He's 86, and right now he's in vacationing in the Keys, and he is part of the Mutual UFO Network, and he also goes to conferences and has a website where he lists his latest UFO news and things like that.
Has he ever lectured before?
He has spoken at conferences, UFO conferences, and he's appeared on various television shows and documentaries.
The book is called Strange Craft, the true story of an Air Force intelligent officer's life with UFOs, and this is available everywhere. Okay, so let's talk about George. Okay, so tell us about his early career and where he served, if you don't mind.
Mondays.
No problem. So George Filer is from the Midwest, south of Chicago.
Grand Rising, freshly wild.
And joined the Air Force after college
Over here.
in 1957, 58. He had to undergo navigating school where he learned how to aircraft navigator. They plot the course, they manage the fuel, they keep an eye on the skies around the aircraft, guide the aircraft to target. He's one of 11 crew members on the KB-50J, which was a modified B-29 bomber that had fuel cells for aviation fuel. So if you can imagine one of these large aircraft forcing an engine into assist injecting engines in it. Looks like a commercial aircraft. But these drogues come out from the wings from each side. And the jet pulls up, puts the drogue into its tank, and can fuel in midair. He and his crew would fly a circular pattern at 30,000 feet and be a flying gas station for fighter aircraft and also bombers. And he was part of in the late 1950s, 59, 60, at Stalthorpe Air Force Base in Europe, Britain, on the east coast of Britain, Stalthorpe Air Force Base. He was, his crew were on alert in case of nuclear war during the Cold War. They could take off in this KB-50J. They had to get off the ground in 2 minutes, circle of the North Sea, fire these jets, fuel them up, send them on their way to targets in Eastern Europe during nuclear payloads. So he had high security clearance, and he knew nuclear codes and everything else. Yeah, he was quite a guy. He also, off the coast of Cuba during the Cuban Missile Crisis, that was his next station. He fueled the jets that flew over banana fields photographing those Russian missiles. They were about to fuel up the nuclear weapons that created the nuclear the crisis, the Cuban Missile Crisis. He would circle over the Caribbean off the island and fuel up the jets for 105s and then cameras and nurses. But at any rate, he then went to Vietnam during the Tet Offensive. He was 7th Air Force Intelligence, and also then after Vietnam, Air Force bases stateside.
Let me ask you something. Let me just cut in here for 1 second. The KB-50J, were they there to kind of be like a refueling source when these bombers had to take extra long journeys over to? Okay, gotcha. Are those still necessary today, or can those B-52s make it all the way to where they're supposed to go without refueling like that?
That's a great question. From what I understand, the recent raids on Kuwait, the recent ones in the Middle East, Syria and such, they flew from the United States and back. Now, on those missions, like Texas, and then return, they probably had to refuel at some point. So I'm guessing that they still have to do that. And I could be wrong. You can fly a commercial airliner to Africa from New York without refueling. So they get across, but
It'd be interesting to know if they still have to do that. The B-52s are amazing. I mean, when you see those, they look like spaceships. The way they're made, people that haven't seen them would think there might be a UFO or something. So let's talk about George. Let me ask you something about his very first sighting.
he was in Europe in 1959. During each of these stations, these missions from Greece to England to Cuba to Vietnam and beyond, he encountered UFOs. And his job as an intelligence officer was to report to pilings, and they also right past him. That was his first sighting.
Did he say what it was doing?
It was hovering there. It was still.
I mean, right above Stonehenge. Right above it.
Or near it. Or near it. But no, it was right above it, but it was near it. Absolutely. So,
What did it look like?
well, I said it was the size of a cruise ship. The size of a cruise ship. So, I imagine it was kind of elongated, and they had legs on, like deck legs, I guess you would say. That's what he said. And so, on the way back, after they saw this thing, they called mission control, told them what they saw, and they told them to come back. So they discussed it on their way back to Skullford Air Force Base. And they landed. And they asked if they wanted up. They said no, but George wrote up a central business intelligence guy. The plane, he wrote one up and gave it to his, I don't know the name of his commanding officer. He gave it to him, but they were having a dine-in with the British pilots there. A few days later, Prince Philip was there, and dressed and said, "We want to thank you, Americans, for flying with us. And we have our nations have a common security and common." By the way, what two of you crews out here saw that the other night? And it turns out that the British had been seeing this. The British had been seeing this ship for the previous 6 months around England. So George and his crew briefed Prince Philip.
Report. Is that where you found it, or is this
No, these are George's recollections. I interviewed George for 2 months, and he could show me the photos he had, and he had notes, but none of the reports were handed up. They were considered secret, top secret clearance because he was in the nuclear program.
John, did they have cameras on the planes at that time, during those times?
They must have, but I don't know if they got footage, if their footage exists or not.
I've always wondered that. Let me go ahead and finish that.
In more modern times, yeah, those got cameras on the F-18s off San Diego, by the way. I mean, they call them. Those are on the internet to view.
Let's go back to Stonehenge. Did George say that there was any more sightings around Stonehenge at all? Was that the only one that he knows of?
That was the only one that he knew of. After the book was published, I was online and I saw that there was another pilot or an account of another large UFO just about the same time, 1950, I think, at the winter time, and other pilots had run into a large UFO. So I saw accounts of that elsewhere.
You said you were in Washington at one time.
Yes.
Did you ever see anything strange? I mean, people do report UFO sightings in and around the Capitol, in and around Washington, D.C., period. I mean, but had you ever seen anything while you were there?
Well, I have to confess that I have not seen a UFO. I may have seen one when I was looking at the papers as a kid. It was around sunrise. It was a large metal, not large, it was just small metallic ball in the sky. It was some distance away.
Sometimes it feels like the world is moving at hyperspeed and you can't keep up because of one thing and another. Don't forget the meeting in the yoga class and the dinner reservation. Okay? You get into the all-new Nissan Murano and you feel the breeze from the panoramic moon roof while the massaging seats melt away the tension of the day. And you realize that sometimes the greatest rush is not rushing at all. Shop the all-new Murano.
use temperature inversions that caused radar to recognize something there that wasn't there. But that's a very famous case. There's photographs of that online, actually. I mean, if you do Washington, D.C. overflight by UFOs, if you do a search of that, you see.
So that's exactly like, because I watched, the J. Allen